I never imagined I'd be the kind of woman to say yes to something this wild. But here I am, still stunned, a little nervous, and if I'm honest, more excited than I expected. My husband had been acting differently for a few days, not in a scary or distant way, just quieter, thoughtful. His eyes held that mischievous sparkle I'd seen before, the kind that always meant he was cooking up something. But this time it felt different, deeper, like he was holding something back, unsure how I'd take it. When he finally sat me down and shared what was on his mind, I didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or walk out of the room. What he said wasn't something we'd ever discussed. Not in casual conversation, not during pillow talk, not even in those silly what-if games we used to play during date nights. We've been together for 7 years, married for 5. Our life is stable, predictable. Jobs, bills, weekly grocery runs, lazy Sundays with takeout and Netflix. It's the kind of life that looks perfect from the outside. But what he asked me, what he proposed, shattered that predictability in the most unexpected way. He said it calmly, like he'd been rehearsing for weeks. His confidence made my heart pound. And before I could even process what was happening, I said yes. I still can't believe I said yes. It all began on a rainy Thursday night. We were curled up on the couch, lights dimmed, our phones forgotten for once. The kind of quiet that only comes from years of being comfortable with each other. He turned to me, eyes steady, and asked a question so unexpected I genuinely thought he was joking. But there was no smirk, no teasing glint, just a serious, steady gaze that told me this wasn't just a whim. This was something he'd carried with him for a while, something he hadn't dared to say aloud until that moment. I won't tell you just yet what the question was. Not because I'm trying to be dramatic, though it is dramatic, but because this story isn't just about the question. It's about everything that came after. The shifting dynamics, the hesitation, the trust it forced us to confront. It's about what happens behind closed doors, when curiosity collides with vulnerability and love is tested in ways you never saw coming. We weren't always this close. In fact, our early marriage was filled with silent treatments and petty arguments over nothing. People don't talk enough about how hard it is after the wedding. Real life hits hard. The romance fades. Laundry piles up. You fall into routines. We survived all that. We made it through. But still, sometimes I wondered, is love enough? Maybe he wondered too. Maybe that's why he finally asked. Looking back, I see the signs now. The way he'd pause during conversations, like he was thinking of something else. The way his hand would reach for mine a little slower, as if unsure if I'd pull away. Late night talks that wandered into what if territory. He was testing the waters, and I hadn't even noticed. The second time he brought it up, we were in the bedroom. The TV was on, but neither of us was really watching. I was scrolling through my phone, half listening. And then, like he couldn't hold it in any longer, he said, "I've been thinking about something." Just like that. No warning, no build-up. He said it casually, but I knew that tone. The soft, careful one he used when he was scared of my reaction. "About us," he added. "About trying something new." My stomach flipped. I muted the TV. "Like what?" He hesitated, then turned the TV off completely, sat up straighter. That's when I knew this wasn't about a vacation or a new hobby. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Something bold, different, something that might bring us closer, if you're open to it." My heart was thundering. my brain racing. He didn't pressure me, just said it, plain, unfiltered. And the weird part? A piece of me wanted to know more, a bigger piece than I expected. Every marriage has its secrets, not lies necessarily, but parts we hide. Things we fear might change how we're seen. But he was laying his bare, and that alone meant something. I told him to go ahead, that I was listening. What he said next, I won't repeat verbatim. Not yet. But I'll tell you this. It was unexpected. It wasn't dangerous. It wasn't disrespectful. But it was intimate, personal. The kind of idea that could either bring us closer or break something fragile between us. I didn't answer right away. I needed time. And he gave it to me. But the days that followed were strange. We acted normal, but there was a new weight between us. Every silence felt heavier. Every glance lingered. He never pushed, and that somehow made it worse. The respect, the patience, it made me want to be worthy of that trust, but I was still unsure. Then something happened that shifted everything again. One night in the kitchen, while he rinsed the dishes, I blurted it out. "Do you really think this will bring us closer?" He paused, water still running, and nodded. "I do, but not if it feels wrong to you. That's not the point." And in that moment, something cracked open inside me. I started seeing it not as a risky proposition, but as a vulnerable invitation. Not a demand, a plea, a request to explore, not escape. Still, it didn't make things easier. Something else was bubbling up inside me. Doubt. Not just about the idea, but about myself. Was I being too cautious, or wise to be careful? What if I said yes, and it changed everything? And then, just as I was starting to consider it seriously, something I hadn't expected at all happened. My best friend asked if everything was okay. She saw something I hadn't seen, or maybe I'd been trying not to see it. I brushed it off, told her things were fine. She gave me that look, the one that says, "You're not fooling me." And maybe I wasn't. One night, just as I was about to brush my teeth, he walked into the bathroom doorway. "Are you still thinking about it?" he asked. I nodded. He didn't smile, didn't gloat, just sat on the edge of the bed, hands folded, waiting. "I need to ask you something," I said. "What if we do this, and it changes everything? What if we can't go back?" His voice was quiet. "Sure. It might change things, but not in a bad way. I'm not trying to break anything. I'm trying to break through." That line hit me. Breakthrough. Like maybe we had been stuck. Maybe this idea wasn't about fantasy. It was about connection. Renewal. I was finally on the edge of deciding. And then came the twist I didn't see coming. A call. From a woman I hadn't heard from in over a year. She used to work with him. Always a little too friendly. He'd assured me, back then, there was nothing between them. But why was she calling now? I didn't confront him. Not at first. I checked his phone history. I know I shouldn't have, but I did. And her name was there. And just like that, every confident word he'd said began to unravel. Not because I thought he cheated, but because I suddenly didn't know if this wild idea was really his. Was someone else behind it? A few days later, I finally asked him, calm, steady, while we washed dishes. "Why did she call you?" He froze. Didn't lie, didn't dodge, just said, "I was going to tell you." I just didn't know how. She had seen an old social media post, reached out. They chatted briefly, and she said something that stuck with him. Couples don't grow apart because they fall out of love. They grow apart because they stop being curious. That conversation, that line, sparked the idea. and that hurt. Even though the idea came from love, it wasn't entirely born from us. It was influenced, triggered. He saw the look on my face and said, "But I didn't bring it to you because of her. I brought it to you because I realized how much I don't want us to drift." I believed him, but I also told him, "Next time, be honest, from the start." He nodded, apologized, and we moved forward, carefully. And then, a week later, she messaged me. Just one line. "Did he tell you everything?" So now I'm back in the unknown. Maybe he did. Perhaps he didn't. But now I have to decide. Do I ask again? Or do I finally trust that what we have is enough? Let me know in the comments what you would do. Ask again, walk away, or lean into trust. Because this story isn't over yet.